little bit of a hiatus for the holiday season. Vinny, Brian, producer Jim Craven, coming at you. 2019's upon us, new year. Feels good to be back. How was your holiday, Vinny?
Everything was good. I enjoyed it. How about you?
I can't complain. I was a little bit under the weather a few of the days. A little illness going around, you know. Everybody was getting sick, it seemed like, but I feel a lot better. I'm just ready, man. Ready for this new year. You make any New Year's resolutions?
No.
Not to get back to your fight weight again, because how many pounds away are you from fight weight right now?
Right now I'm like sitting at like 150, so like 15 pounds. No New Year's resolution for me. I don't do all that because a resolution like that is like a promise to me. It's only made to be broken. You know? Anytime someone tells me, "Oh, I promise," I'm like, "Oh, you're already shooting me a line, right?" Anyway, so yeah, I don't get into all that New Year's resolution stuff. I like to just play it as it comes, you know.
We're back at you here on a Tuesday night from the Gessler Propane Studio here in beautiful Struthers, Ohio. Maybe the first person in the world to ever use the word Struthers and beautiful in the same sentence, but lives in Struthers. She goes to Struthers school, so I won't clown on it too much out here. But no, hey, you know what though? It's great to be back, man. It's been 3 weeks, I think, since we've done a show. Feels good to get back. And hey, Jim, man, we New Year. What we got going on with the station right now? I'll give you a chance to kind of plug the station while I get this shared on Facebook here.
Well, of course, we got the Youngstown Phantoms coming up here. Not this weekend. They're going to be off this, or not off this weekend. They're going to be on the road. The following weekend, we'll be here Friday and Saturday. They will have the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders coming in, and the Phantoms coming off a 2-game sweep of the Sioux City Musketeers last week, and 5-3, and then they won in overtime on Saturday. Tied it up with 15.2 seconds left and won 40 seconds into overtime. And one of the stars there, Jack Malone, heading over to the NHL Prospects game tonight, as a matter of fact. You can see that on Hockey TV, which I don't know a lot of people have there. But so that's going on there. Getting ready for some Cleveland Cobras season. They are in training. So Jesse Caldwell, Jerry Minasali, and crew are putting that together. And we'll get those broadcasts going around April, and we might have a little other something coming up, and I can't wait to make the announcement if everything comes together. It won't be, it'll be another team coming in, but we'll see how that works out. I'm hoping, though.
Another team, huh? So it sounds pretty exciting.
Little something, so stand by on that.
Any word on the sport? I mean, can you give us a hint?
Football. It'll be football, so
okay.
We'll wait to see how that works out. So I'm pretty excited about that because if anybody knows me, I'll watch 22 blind guys on the field play football. I mean, that's just how I am. So, and of course, boxing getting a little active now. Holidays are over, and I don't understand something. I'll tell you guys, how do you train or get ready for a fight around the holidays? You might as well pull your toenails out with a pair of pliers.
I'll tell you what, I don't. I don't.
Well, you trained right up to the night before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know.
You hit that perfectly, by the way. So.
And these people who fight the night before Thanksgiving, I mean, that's the biggest feast day of the year. I mean, what if you break your jaw? You're gonna have your jaw wires shut.
You know what?
Night.
To be honest
Blend
with you,
it.
Hey, I didn't eat a Thanksgiving dinner till Friday, Brian, right?
Yeah, our
Came over on
Friendsgiving
Friday.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, because on Thursday I was in I was in no shape to be eating.
Really?
I mean, I felt good. I felt good, but just more than anything, I said it. I fought and looked like I might have been 25 years old, but when I got home the next day, I felt 40. But yeah, I was a little uncomfortable and stuff like that. So yeah, as far as my holiday going eating, I mean, I ate, but we didn't do it on Thursday. We did it on Friday, and it wasn't anything spectacular. You know what I mean? Anything big or anything like that.
I see a lot of these guys in boxing, and I've seen some UFC guys training to fight like the week between maybe Christmas and New Year's. That's horrible. For me, you might as well go put me somewhere in isolation because I'm going to eat. It's going to happen.
Yeah, at that point, most of those guys are probably at a training camp or, you know what I mean, away from home, away from friends and family, so it's not so,
Not so festive.
Yeah, and it's not so hard to leave things alone. But then again, hey, you got to think about, you got a paycheck coming in, so.
Well, yeah,
you got to work.
You got to have the money to pay for the food and the food to pay for,
You know how many people work on what is it, Black Friday, and they work on the holidays and stuff like that. So as a fighter, I think
I'll tell you
that's
what,
all you got to do. It's not too bad.
I didn't see anybody work harder around the holidays than our boy Robert Shoeless Taylor.
Oh yeah, he had a good Thanksgiving.
Wait.
Kajemi's opponent.
I was going to say that.
He had a good Thanksgiving dinner.
He had a good Thanksgiving.
If he get past that brush burn he got from that just amazing jab that Kajemi had, I mean, I hope he's okay. I really do. I hope that fall didn't hurt him.
That's funny.
Not that we're bitter about that. Not at all.
Oh man,
Goodness gracious.
I do have I'm gonna throw this out there because I feel like I'm trying to build a fight here. So I do have somebody who's willing to challenge Anthony Kajemi, and he's for real about it. He contacts me at least once a week talking about it. Andy Steiner. Andy Steiner's looking to get his pro boxing license, and he wants to challenge Kajemi here at home.
let's do this, man. Hey, look at you, man. You went from trainer to fighter, well, fighter to trainer to fighter, now to matchmaker, and now promoter. You're promoting this on air. Last episode we had, or was it 2 episodes ago, we had Keontae Irving call in. Keontae Irving fought this past Saturday. It was a pretty cool setting, man. They fought at the old West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville. It was a kind of like a mixed MMA, pro boxing, and semi-pro boxing event going on. I think it was like a total maybe like 12 fights. I think 5 pro fights. 4 fighters from the Pittsburgh area were represented, and Pittsburgh went 4-0, with Keontae Irving picking up the first round knockout to move his record to 4-0. Eric Bledsoe, who is a former opponent of Danny Rosenberger, he picked up the victory. I guess he looked pretty solid in his victory. There's a fighter from Pittsburgh named Michael Mann. I think he's former military personnel. He's 3-0. He's a 36-year-old guy. Decided, to start boxing. He moved to 3-0 with 3 knockouts. He's a Mike McSorley guy, I believe.
Okay, that's
trained by Mike McSorley. And then Mike McSorley's one of his Ukrainian fighters, Limbar Pinkchuk. But he moved his record 8-1. He's a 22-year-old. He's 8-1. I think his lone loss was a fight that he took, I think, out in Vegas maybe. And I think he was a heavy underdog in that fight, but gave the guy a lot of work. And I'll tell you what, those 2 Ukrainian guys he's got between him and Oleg, those are 2 guys, man, to keep an eye on. And I know McSorley's going to promote them the right way through his Integrity Fighter Promotions. He'll be having, I believe, a card at the Grand Prairie Hall in Pittsburgh on, is it March 2nd or the 3rd? One of those 2 dates there, in first Saturday in March there. And I believe they'll both be fighting that night. Keontae Irving, I believe, will be on that show too. And Keontae Irving's also scheduled to go February 16th out in Mountain Air with Made Med Promotions, Cupid's Knockout. And today, I was making my rounds, and it's been a while since I talked to Danny Rosenberg. I just messaged him, see how his holiday was going and stuff. And he said, you know what, back in the gym now, I'm feeling good. And he's going to be on that February 16th card. No word on opponent yet, but I'm sure I'll probably get a word here soon. But Danny Rosenberger slated to fight February 16th at the Mountain Air Casino Resort Ballroom in New Cumberland, West Virginia. So that brings me to this, Vinny. And we talked about this, before we came here. We stopped up at the Elmton and Struthers here. Great pizza.
Love it.
Penguin City beer. Hit the spot. That's hey, you know what? We're all about supporting local.
Yeah, if you're ever in Struthers and you're looking for somewhere to eat, the Elmton is the spot.
Elmton, and hey, everybody out, man, give a try to the Penguin City Brewing, Penguin City Beer. It's a local beer company that just released not too long ago, but it's good, man. It's the spot, and I'm all about supporting local, as I just said. But hey, I asked you this, man. What do you want to see out of the New Year's in the Youngstown boxing scene?
In the Youngstown boxing scene, what I'd like to see from the fighters is everybody to come together and work together to better each other. For one, we got guys in town. We need to come together and get more work together, and stuff like that. I know, I saw Brian Sims today. He was just up at Burnside's. So, you get to see him out there doing some different things, and him and Rasmini and Ford,
Yeah.
and Danny, they're always keeping up with each other. So, I mean, that cohesion amongst guys is good to see. Now, if we could just get that same type of working atmosphere with the guys behind the scenes, the trainers, the promoters, the matchmakers, and everybody work together to bring some guys along. Outside of that, what do I want to see this year in Youngstown boxing? Is Popo Salinas to get back in the mix and start moving his career in a positive direction.
Our boy Tommy Cordell just chimed in. Danny's going to be fighting Ivan Hernandez, and that was his original opponent that he was supposed to fight in Youngstown on the Thanksgiving Eve show. I think Ivan Hernandez is from Buffalo, and I seen Ivan Hernandez fight, and I think it's a fight. If Danny lets his hands go, he should win. But I'll let you continue, and then I'll get back on that.
Yeah, but we know Brian loves Danny Rosenberg, no? Loves him. So
Youngstown's most active fighter.
Yeah, most active fighter. So 2019, let's see Popo Salinas get back in the mix and start moving his career in the same direction. I'm also excited to. I know I just mentioned it, but Brian Sims, I was just talking to him, and he was mapping out his plans over the next couple of months and the Golden Gloves. And,
yes.
Some tournaments, and then we were talking about the transition, that happens after this year. Being since he's done with school in 25, and they're going to make the leap into the pros. So that'll be exciting to watch out of Youngstown.
I like Brian.
Yeah, and then
good kid, good fighter.
And then, ultimately for myself is for me to get back in the ring and be successful here in like March, and then start moving, my fights out of town and get active for another year and then finish it out strong. That's what I'd like to see in Youngstown boxing scene for the next. On top of our show doing well, and your websites making some moves into some different avenues, and maybe
Western
expanding
Reserve
a little
Radio,
bit. Yeah, and Western Reserve Radio hooking us up and keeping us active. I mean, so all those things is what I portrayed looking when I look at 2019.
Absolutely. The piggyback off of what you said. One of the things you said is Alejandro Popo Salinas.
Alejandro.
And that's it, man. I mean, he had his ducks in a row there. He had that huge win on national TV on FS1 in September of 2017. When he defeated Duran Vu, previously undefeated from Wisconsin. And then the March thing, and I don't know what happened. I mean, he just got thrown in with the wrong opponent in Segawa, and who was a replacement opponent, a crafty lefty who showed him different looks, who's already fought guys that were maybe at a higher level than him, so anything Popo showed him, he's already seen. But Popo's still young. What are we looking at, 23 years old?
Yes, he's still young, and he's got a lot of time ahead of him in the sport. Depending on, I really don't know how long he in his mind he looks at fighting.
Yeah,
but I know that he's young. He's got a lot of time ahead of him. He's got a lot to learn still. And sometimes you catch a little patch, especially as a pro in the pros when it becomes a job and not so much for fun and getting out there and working out. But so you need a transition where you need to sit back, look in the mirror, and start analyzing yourself and analyzing what you got going on and taking a step back and regrouping and rebuilding. And I think that's where we're at with Popo right now, as far as his determination and his work ethic and his mindset.
I want to see Popo ideally in this next year. He should fight at least 5 times.
And you know what? I think you will see once the ball gets rolling. You probably will see 4 or 5 fights out of him this year. I would guess. I mean, it's time to start making a move and making a push. If he's going to make a push, it's got to start happening sooner than later.
I think we'll see Keontae Irving fight no less than 8 times this year. Wow. What do you think? About 8 times, Keontae? I mean, he's already got 2 fights scheduled. He's got February, March. I mean, 12 might be a stretch. I mean, we're saying once a month possibly there. So I think no less than 8. I think we're looking at probably between 8 and 10 fights. He's 24 years old.
The way he's moving right now,
they probably want to get him to about 20-0 by 25 years old.
And the way he's stopping his opponents, and the way he works out in the gym, and like I said, with his mindset and his work ethic, and his amateur background, I see no issue with him getting 10 fights this year. I mean, he's only been pro a couple months, and what's he got? 5 fights?
Yeah, he's 4-0 with 4 knockouts.
4-0. So
only 1 fight in the second round. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for him to have at least 8 to 10 fights this year, especially the way he's stopping guys early, and he's able to stay unharmed and no cuts and nothing like that. So he's able to rebound rather quickly and get right back into the gym and right back to work, which is beneficial to a young guy who's hungry. As long as he can stay injury free, I think we'll be able to see 8 to 10 fights out of him.
And Tom Youngkella's got enough connections to keep him pretty active.
Oh yeah. Plus, Keontae Irvin's he's a name. He's a name in himself. So
Pittsburgh's got some. Pittsburgh's got some promising prospects right now. I mean, no doubt about it. You got the 2 Ukrainian guys that we just referenced to with Mike McSorley. We got my boy Matt Conway over there at Made Men Promotions, and he'll be the main event on February 16th. I think Conway he's 15-0 right now. He's 15-0, and I think you'll see Conway fight. You know what? They were fast tracking him. They're kind of pulled the reins back a little bit, stepped the competition. So right now you're seeing Matt Conway fight maybe between 4 or 5 times a year.
Well, the average, I'm saying, for most fighters is about 4 times a year until you start getting into
quarterly. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because. Then you got these guys like Javante Davis. I mean, he fought 1 time.
Yeah. But when you're pulling in between 6 and 7 figures a fight, I
guess in the long run, I mean, like I don't know. I don't agree with it. I think even at that on that level, a fighter should fight at least 3 times a year. At the least twice.
How many times a year was Julio Cesar Chavez fighting to? Or a guy like Yuri Boy Campus. I mean, Yuri Boy had to have been fighting like 20 times a year at one point. But at that point, too, they, these state commissions also weren't like suspending guys after a fight, mandatory.
Being since you were talking about commissions, that's another thing that I would like to see this year. Well, it probably won't happen this year, but something I would like to see, whether it be this year or in the future, is when it comes to the pro side of boxing, that there be how do I want to say it? Like every state have the same requirements to become a professional boxer, the same requirements to get licensed in each state, so it's not different from state to state,
And like just for instance, and like same requirements overall, like just Pittsburgh within just the past 24 months, Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania, I should say, used to be same day weigh-ins.
Yeah, and as I'm talking about, like I think it should be, all throughout the country, we should have the same requirements from state to state, depending on what days we weigh in and what medicals you need. Because like in Ohio, you need certain medicals at certain ages, and then you go to another state and they're telling you all you need is blood work. Like I just think same with the PEDs. Like I think everybody should be into the random drug test, year-long drug test to clean up the sport when it comes to PEDs. I know that the PEDs are out there and people use them and it's to get an edge and this and that, but honestly, boxing is supposed to be a pure sport. Guys were great fighters and world champions and Hall of Famers and legends. Back when there wasn't all that stuff and there wasn't all these weights and there wasn't all this technology. And I think sometimes we just rely on that too much. Guys are suckered into it with all the protein drinks and all the stuff that you could take over the counter, which I don't believe in. So I think that there needs to be some type of governing body that sits down and says, hey, we need to make it the same no matter where you're at. The other thing is because of what was his name? What's his name? Taylor Robert.
Shoeless Robert Taylor.
Yeah, Shoeless Robert Taylor
from Michigan.
So, now I know that like certain guys are needed in this sport for the sport to survive, and that's guys that jump into the pro ranks.
There's levels to it, yeah.
Yeah, levels to it, but there needs to be some type of. And now I'm sure this has been said by everybody, and I've been saying this, saying ever since I started boxing, is some of these guys that get professional licenses and they come out and they make the professional boxer look like a joke. Like, you're not going to find all right, in the NFL, you're not going to find a running back who can't tie his shoes. Well, you might. What was the dude's name from Michigan? Who never tied his shoes?
It's a Michigan thing. It's got to be a Michigan
you just
thing.
answered your own question. It was Michigan.
Who was that?
You know who I'm talking about. He was
The
like
quarterback. He was the quarterback who only ran the ball. He couldn't throw.
It wasn't Denard Robinson, was it?
It was
Yeah,
Denard Robinson.
yeah,
Was it?
Denard
He never
Robinson.
tied his shoes.
They called him shoelace.
Yeah, he just signed with an AAF team down, I believe, in Atlanta,
so
Georgia.
I guess
He's not even in the NFL no more.
No,
that wasn't right to say, but I guess what I'm saying is,
but he said it nonetheless.
yeah, you're not going to go out there and find a baseball player who's pitching who can't throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball or an 85-mile-an-hour fastball. Are you? You're not going to be hitting little league pitchers in the
Josh
major
Tomlin.
leagues.
For the Indians.
Yeah, so,
But Josh Tomlin tossed
All right,
about
so
82 miles per hour.
I'm not winning on this one. But what I'm saying
I'm
to you
just
is,
playing.
there needs to be some type of requirement or some type of, like, I know in like Vegas when I was getting ready to turn pro, the commission would actually come down and watch you spar and make sure that you could handle yourself in the ring and that you knew what you were doing. And we get these guys that turn pro just to make a buck. Anybody can turn pro, and I just think that there needs to be some type of legitimate type of background, either in fighting or something like that allows you to turn pro to make the sport, more legit. We go out here and we watch these guys like this dude Taylor who takes 2 jabs to the face, neither of them even land, and he goes down and acts like he has trouble getting up. I mean, like, what good did that do for us that night? For our show, and not just for our show, but for the other fighter in the ring. I mean, it's just not fair, and I think there needs to be something done about that here in the near future.
Was his pay withheld or anything?
They
even initially,
they tried to, but they wanted to, but I guess his pay was already released to him. Is that what the understanding was? And at that point, it was just like, you know what? Let the kid go buy a few turkeys with it, 'cause he looks like he needs it. I mean, I
think you're somewhat right. I do remember hearing the story, but it was I was in the moment that night, so I really don't know too much.
Where's Bernie on this? On it.
Well, Bernie would have been there. I think that was the other.
Yes. Bernie wasn't
issue.
there. I think Tom Miller was pretty much in charge that night, right?
Yeah, Tom Miller was there, and he was gonna have to get a hold of Bernie before they could hold the check. So. At that rate, they just said, well, we're not even gonna mess with it. It's over. Nobody wanted to deal with it. Which, I get it, but at the same time, that guy didn't deserve to get paid. He doesn't deserve to ever lace up gloves again. He's the type of guy that ruins the sport of boxing. When you got people, casual fans, and have never really been to a show. They come in to that night and they watch the show and they're like, yo, that was professional boxing.
And there were some people there that thought it was a setup.
Because
absolutely.
Anthony, first fight out, he's a Youngstown police officer. He obviously had a great following there, and then he threw one jab, and it was over.
Yeah.
No, it was 2 jabs, right?
It was 2
you
jabs.
Remember, he was trained by Jack Lewis. It was a double jab.
Double jab. Straight right after that. Okay, yeah, but he ate both of them. I'm telling you, it was the most vicious jab I've ever seen. He went down, didn't get up. I mean, way to go, Klitschko.
Right. So yeah, that's something else I'd like to see happen this year, but it probably won't. It never does. But it's wishful thinking.
Hey, a man can dream. A man can dream
a lot.
That's what, if you're not dreaming, what ambition do you really have in life? Because I dream big. We got this show going on right now, and we want to take it to the next level. What's the next level? Who knows? But it's fun to do, though. No, but as far as
you dream big, like how big? Like 6 to 8, 10 to 12?
One.
We're still talking boxing, right? All right, just checking.
Yeah, I
got him. I got him.
I dream John Holmes. That's all I'll say.
I know. I was right though, wasn't I, Jim?
Yeah,
I was right. How big are you dreaming?
But for what we want to see for the New Year's, as you kind of said, man, and you mentioned a collaboration maybe between the sanctioning bodies, and the one thing that I want to see too is the support, a collaboration of support on the local boxing scene in Youngstown. And sometimes you'll see shows going on somewhere else, and there's certain times you don't see some of the faces of Youngstown at certain shows and whatnot.
Yeah, you're not. It's never really gonna happen. It's with the competitive nature of the sport, and guys having their lives going on and stuff like that. I mean, I do agree. Like the fighters in the area, they need to be out on the shows. They need to be out there meeting and greeting. It's more about promoting yourself and all that.
All right, we'll pick up this conversation. We come back from a break. We'll see y'all in a few minutes here. Fight Night live in Youngstown on West Reserve Radio, live from the Gessler Propane Studio.
Center of attention at summer barbecues. In '96, I made some of the tastiest s'mores. And in '09, it was me, your backyard fire pit, that accidentally started a wildfire when a summer breeze carried one of my embers into some dry brush.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? That it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m., and I told you the exact path it would take. You would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait, communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
We are back at you for our last half-hour segment here. Fight Night in Youngstown coming at you live from Struthers, Ohio. The Gessler Propane Studio. www.westreserveradio.com. Your home for Youngstown Phantoms hockey, amongst other things. And a possible new announcement coming in the near future. We didn't really get a hint inside of them.
There was one thing I did forget to say. It is football related. March 16th, we'll have the Cleveland Warriors and the Orlando Guardians. Right here on Western Reserve Radio, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And that is going to be an all first responders team, both sides. Police, fire, EMTs, corrections, probation, from the National Public Safety Football League. So we'll have that on here. You can catch that with Mark Means and Matt Emsch. Of course, Dave Ferris pushing all the buttons. He makes everything work. And yours truly down on the field. So
that's
pretty
I got a question
for you, B. Hey, so you've been practicing that at home in the mirror?
Uh-oh.
The whole speech, so Western Reserve, digital radio. You're doing fantastic tonight. That's why I'm asking.
I made some crib notes, man. I made some notes, and I got rid of the candy. And I think the candy was holding me back. I'm trying to give you a little compliment, let you know you're doing that quite well. I'm trying to do good, man. You know what?
You're doing better.
Mark Means would be proud.
I think the candy was holding me back a little bit.
The candy was holding you back. You just stick to the beers.
I traded candy for Penguin City beer.
There you go.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it. So.
And pizza.
And pizza. Elton pizza. But we're back at you here, man. And hey, so we talked about what we want to see from the fight scene in Youngstown for 2019 now that we're celebrating the new year. What are some fights you want to see on the global scene, pro fights, for the new year? And I texted you earlier and I said, hey, Vinny, I'm going to ask you this question, so I hope you came prepared. And you know what? If you want to jump in here too, Jim, what are some fights you maybe want to see in this upcoming year?
I mean, honestly, I don't want to see anything different than the fans want to see. we already got a great fight lined up right off the bat with Mikey Garcia, right, and Errol Spence. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Errol Spence, this and that. Hey, I think Mikey's going to shock a lot of people, and it's going to be a great fight. It's two superstars, so we got that. And, I'm really stoked about the Gervonta Davis and Abner Mares fight coming up. I used to, back in 05 when Mares was just turning pro, I was making my pro debut too, and he had just gotten back from the Olympics.
You told me he hit like a mule.
He used to hit like a mule, and he was fast and he was quick. And I used to go to what is that? I can't think right now. Hawaiian Gardens out there, and where he trained out there, and to get some sparring with him. And he's a really good fighter. He's a really nice guy. You know what I'm saying? We had a lot of fun. But I mean, that's a really intriguing fight. Abner Mares is no slouch. He's a multiple-time champion, and Gervonta Davis hasn't fought in a year. He's in and out of trouble. Got a crazy backstory with that kid, So I think that's going to be a really entertaining fight. So those two are already made, But I think more than anything, and I'm sitting in the heavyweights, man. I want to see AJ and Deontay Wilder, and I would really like to see if Usyk was to move up to heavyweight, and him and Tyson Fury to whip it on would be cool.
I definitely want to see Wilder Fury too.
I mean, I want to see that too, but
at Wembley, I want to see that bad boy in Wembley.
Right now, I'm thinking about the unification. I want to see, Wilder and AJ fight for the belts, and let's seal it up, and then let everybody come at the champ.
I want Fury Wilder too, and I want Joshua to go at it again with Dylan White.
Well, that's what I was just about to say.
Winners collide.
We've got great fights in fighters in Dillian White and that
Jennings,
Big Baby Cheryl. Yeah, Big Baby Miller. Yeah. Anyways, hey, these guys are coming up, and you also have that Brian Jennings is getting ready to fight again. Last time I saw him fight, he lost to Klitschko. I don't remember how long ago that was, but he's another entertaining heavyweight. So the heavyweight division is definitely something I'm gonna have my eye on this year, just like everybody else. But then again, down in the lighter weights, you're talking what is that? Welterweight. I mean, you got Crawford and you got Spence and you got, Keith Thurman coming back, and
there's some talk, and it broke this week, and James Dominguez on the Punchline was talking about it, before this, but it sounds like there might be a Crawford Amir Khan fight.
Yes,
and that's intriguing to me. But I would love to see Kell Brook and Amir Khan finally get it on.
Kell Brook and Amir Khan would be an entertaining fight, and both of them being from over on the other side of the pond, and all that stuff going on would be cool. But hey, you
don't see it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of. Everybody knows I'm not a big fan of Amir Khan, so I could do without him. I mean, really. But I would like to see Spence and Crawford mix it up.
Spence and Crawford would be. I mean, I think that's the biggest fight that you can have on paper. I think that's a definitely a pay-per-view caliber fight. So I think the days of pay-per-view might be slowly going bye-bye with DAZN. I won't call it DAZN.
Well, you're right, and I'm going to touch on some of that here in a minute, because I got a list of fights that are coming up and what channels they're going to be on, because I know a lot of people are just now starting to get used to this DAZN network, and some guys that are in the game don't even have it yet, and then the ESPN Plus, which I know everybody kind of forgets about a little bit right now. So to bring it back out there, I wanted to touch on that here in a minute. But hey, there is a big fight that I want to see, and it's some redemption, is Sean Porter and Keith Thurman. I want to see that one again.
And you got to meet Sean Porter.
Yeah, we got to. I ran into Sean Porter the night that I fought. He was at the fights. I've known him since he was a kid. He didn't remember me, so I guess I just met him the other night.
Yeah.
A couple weeks
and
ago.
Speaking of Porter, the our boys the Rodriguez brothers David
Oh
and
yeah,
Jose,
they're
out
down in
there
Vegas right now,
working out
in
with
training
them.
camp. Yeah, putting in a little camp out there.
Think I saw them say they're going to be out there for like 3 months, maybe, or something.
That's the way you're supposed to do it. Go out there and live the life and get away from home and clear your mind and live boxing for 3 months. I guarantee you they come back changed men.
Oh, no doubt, man. And they're definitely two guys I keep my eye on. I keep in touch with both of them. I think highly of both of them. They seem like the type that put boxing first ahead of anything in life, and that includes going out partying, women, and any other vices that might be tempting. And that's something that we always touch on is, what you see in the ring is only a quarter of the aspect of what goes on in a boxer's life. The outside influences on a boxer play such a role on a boxer's, life and his ability inside a ring. And we've seen so many guys derailed by outside interference, as I would call it.
Yeah, that's the biggest hurdle in when it comes to getting in the ring is what's going on outside. I mean, if anybody who follows a little bit about boxing knows that fighters since the beginning of time really find themselves in bars and drinking and drugs and women, and especially like as you start moving up through the ranks, you start getting popularity and stuff like that. It becomes that much more of a time to where you need to be focusing because you got bigger fights, but it also becomes a time where you can lose focus rather easily. And
keep in mind, when you're successful, everybody wants to be your friend.
Everybody wants a piece.
Well, we
learned that around here.
We saw that on Thanksgiving Eve. I mean, hey, Vinny was the hottest thing in Youngstown for one night. He stole the show.
Yeah. I tell you, and he said he was going to do it. I kid you not, and I'm not being biased. That was an absolute truth. That crowd was off their feet. I don't think anybody sat down the whole fight.
It was awesome.
It was, and that shows me that there's still a following for boxing here. That place was packed.
There is.
There was standing room only in the background, in the back of the room. So.
Yeah.
What a blast. I had a good time.
In Youngstown, every time we get a big show like that and it turns out successful, you got to appreciate the fans in this area with the sport of boxing. Boxing is always been huge around here. I think it's starting to make a comeback. Sometimes we got 25 to 30 people in the gym, and that's huge in this area. And a lot of it has to do with the promoting of the fighting in Youngstown with Lights Out Management and Jack Lowe, putting on shows, and who else? Chuck Nelson putting on shows, and you got Safaldi and them guys. So a lot's being done to bring fights into this area, and it's helping out.
And Lights Out Management, I was talking with Tom and company, and I think they said they're going to do 5 shows this year, and I think they're pretty much set on March 9th.
Yeah, March 9th. I just, as a matter of fact, I just sent over some names about 10 minutes ago.
Club 7 in Austin Town there, Wedgwood Plaza.
Yeah.
Lights Out Management.
Is that what it's called?
Club 7. I think it's changed. I mean, I remember it was the Silver Dollar, then it was Club 1743, there was Rodeo Music Hall, and I used to go to Teen Dance Club night there when it was...
I find it funny that like some of these bars that come in this area are like they're like Vegas name bars. You know what I mean? Like, okay, the one out there, and I know it's it's over here on near Schwabel's on Midlothian. Okay.
Steel.
No. The one I'm talking about is Utopia. There used to be a Utopia in Vegas. Now they want to open up a 7. There was a Club 7 in Vegas. Like all these like weird name bars that can start coming in. It's like just ripping off names from other places, really. Anyways, I just had to get off my chest. I don't really, it drives me nuts.
Got a little sidetracked.
Yeah, sorry. That'll happen once in a while. But so we got guys. I just put some names on the list for Tommy to hopefully hook up for in March. But yeah, they're talking about putting on 5 shows, and that's if they're planning on 5 shows, it'll probably end up 6. They'll add one somewhere, I'm sure.
And I believe he said one of the shows that he has lined up is going to be a big outdoor show, and they're good for an outdoor show.
Oh, they do one once a summer, right?
Except for that one where it rained out the main event, which was going to be Dalton Rasta. And so you're playing with fire whenever you do an outdoor show.
Now, they're building the new amphitheater there down by the Cavelli Center. Is that a viable location for an outdoor?
That's
for
you
a
know
card?
what, and I talked to Jack Lowe about that before. He's done outside shows at Cavelli Center.
Yeah, I fought on one. The first show that he did at the Cavelli outdoors.
Was that where his one fight poster is from? Okay. Yeah, that's a good question, and that's something that I've asked, and I don't see why it wouldn't be. I mean, you'd have pretty much cover. You'd have some nice lighting there.
A smaller venue where you're not going to try to sell out 9 or 10,000 seats, and
yeah,
if you can get some decent weather, in which good luck around here, but that might be a fantastic place, especially with all the nightlife now down there. If you can get a 6 o'clock to 9:30, 10 o'clock card, and everything lights up after that.
Can you imagine? Could you imagine though? Hey, maybe. I mean, I don't know, and I might be getting ahead of myself. I'm not a promoter by any stretch of the imagination, but hey, man, you start this card at as he said, maybe about 5 o'clock, a little early. Well, it's what we usually see, about 3 hours of show runs.
Yeah, 3.
It doesn't start.
Sometimes I feel like those shows are rushed. You know what I mean? Because of we start them late, and then we're trying to get out of there by 11 o'clock. Where if you start a little earlier, you could take your time with a little bit more, and not everybody be like,
Well, if you get Shoeless Glass Joe,
for instance, man, because this is a situation that it happens more times than anybody even realizes it happens, if anybody's even really ever thought about it. But okay, for instance, Kanjemi went up into the ring right before me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he threw 2 punches, right? And the fight was over.
So that speeds up your preparation, doesn't it?
Well, who was in there? Who was in his corner? My corner. So who's downstairs warming me up?
You.
Me. Yeah, but I'm talking about you should have a good warm up session. Even if I know we took our time coming up there, because I said, I'm not going upstairs until I start bringing a little bit of a sweat. I'm not going into this fight dry in front of all these people. Then so we broke a little sweat. Then we got up to the front right there at the door to walk in, and the guy that I was fighting was upset about his music, and we stood there for a good 4 or 5 minutes. Waiting for them to
and that
fix
was
the
towards
music.
the entrance too. It was cold out,
Yeah, standing there. So
that foyer area.
I was glad that I got to break a little bit of a sweat. Although by the time I got into the ring, I was dry again. But at least I had gotten that initial one out of the way. So sometimes, like you're saying, if we were to start a show a little bit earlier and run it like that, you might have a little bit more leeway in between bouts to where guys can get a little bit more warmed up. Because I was always told by my Uncle Lou, who got me started in boxing, that you should be almost to your second win by the time you get to get into the ring. That's just the way he would put it, And a good warm up. I've got a kid, Jackson Behun, that I feel like I need to really get him warmed up before he fights, because if not, it's not the same fighter.
You say he's a slow starter. You've almost said that you feel that he'll be a better pro than an amateur. I've heard you say that.
I'm 100% certain he'll be a better pro than he will ever be an amateur. In every amateur fight, by the end of the third round, he's starting to come on. But we've already struggled through 2 rounds and it's over. I think once he gets Jackson, even at 4 rounds, isn't going to be really good for him. But when he gets to like 6 rounds, I think you'll start seeing that young man turn a corner and be something here in Youngstown and have a nice career.
Is that a situation where you see amateur guys, they fight for points? Mm-hmm. Do you see fighters that maybe are better strategic fighters than maybe point fighters?
Oh, all the time.
I mean, because you essentially everybody's going to come through the amateurs to some degree, but there's a world of difference between what you see like in the Olympics and what you see in a professional ring. It's just not the same.
Yeah, it's completely different. And speaking of, I mean, it's kind of on that. So you have guys that come from them big amateur pedigrees and backgrounds, and they turn pro, and they can never snap out of that amateur style and amateur thinking. You know what I mean? And they're not as successful as they were in the amateurs as a pro. And then you got guys the other way around that, were good amateur fighters or decent amateur fighters, and then they turn pro, and the game changes, the mindset changes, and because they weren't great amateurs, they're able to succeed in the pro game because of that. In the pros, you got to pick, you pick your shots, you're not just rushing. You have a little bit more time to work with more rounds. Like right now, we'll keep talking about because brought him up. But Jackson, he's fighting 2-minute rounds, right? So you're 3 2-minute rounds because he's only 15, going on 16 now. You're talking 2-minute rounds and you only got 3 of them. When you add another minute to each of those rounds and you add another 3 rounds, now you're talking, you actually have that time to sit back, pick your shots, work in, set things up. You can't do that as an amateur, not right off the bat. It's in and out, score your points, get out. Step around, move.
Well, even the conditioning would be different. And that 1 minute, huge
difference.
I mean, and I challenge anybody, go sprint for 3 minutes, see how you feel. And there's times when that's what it can be. I've seen fighters younger fighters that'll last 2-3 rounds are done. Mm-hmm. But then you see the guys who develop and the guys who go 12 rounds regularly. And that's they don't understand how incredible of a feat that really is.
You'd be surprised at the guys in the gym right now that are 24 years old that I watch. They're in the gym all the time, you know what I mean? And they're working, and halfway through or the second round, you're like, okay, where'd the steam go? You need to wake up. You're slowing down. You ain't moving the same. So big difference between the amateurs and the pros. And like we were talking about, I think some guys are made for the pro game more than amateurs.
Well, you even take like a Deontay Wilder, who was not a traditional amateur fighter. I don't think he's a guy that would have lasted in the amateurs. He's a wild swinger. I mean,
if there was a lot of talent in that pool at heavyweight as an amateur, you're probably right. He did end up going to the Olympics.
He won a bronze medal.
Bronze medal in the Olympics.
Oh, okay, really?
Yeah.
Okay, the way they made it sound.
People don't know that because
that's why
bronze was fast-tracked.
Yeah, I mean, he went from nowhere to...
He started late. He didn't start boxing until his 20s, I believe.
Well, that's like the female fighter, Clarissa Shields, right?
Oh.
I mean, here's a female fighter who, because it's not the deep pool of people, she went to the Olympics rather quickly too, right? She doesn't have I'm not 100% certain because no offense to the ladies, I'm not a huge follower of... I mean, it's coming on more now.
I think it's the second coming of it. I mean, I think this is the third coming of it. I think you've seen women's boxing go through three big transitions. The first being when Chrissy Martin burst into the scene there in the mid-'90s when they were putting her on Mike Tyson undercards, the coal miner's daughter out of West Virginia.
And you had the Ali era.
And then you had the Layla Ali era where she was headlining Friday night fights and Tuesday night title fights. And now you're seeing the Clarissa Shields, what's the other girl? Hammer, is it? Hamner, whatever her name is, and a couple of these other women fighters. And so I think you're starting to see the third.
And Katie Taylor.
She's UK, right?
She's the Irish girl. She's
Irish, okay.
She's a bad, she's a tough.
But I think we're seeing the third coming of women's boxing.
Now you got a coming up fighting here. I have a note down here. Oh yeah, right here, January 18th on DAZN. That Amanda Serrano's fighting. She's on the undercard of the Demetrius Andrade fight.
Speaking of
also
women,
on that card is Jorge Linares.
Speaking of women fighting,
we
got something going down February 2nd.
Well, February 2nd, in Atlanta, Georgia, the Rough and Rowdy boxing is going on, and yes, as of right now, there's a possibility. We got to get some of our stuff together and push out a video, which we got to do tomorrow or the next day and get it to him. But yes, my girlfriend Jennifer will be fighting at the Rough and Rowdy.
What?
On February 2nd. It will be live on pay-per-view as well.
And I will be paying and viewing.
Yeah, she's going to give it a shot. Like I've said it here before. I've said it to every person I've ever talked boxing with. I believe every person, male, female, child, should get in the ring at some point in their life, train, and go through all the emotion and go through all the worry and mess with your own brain and find out who you are and get up there in front of people and throw down with somebody. It's exhilarating. There's nothing like it. And
wow,
I think everybody should do it once. Win, lose or draw. Just something you learn and you know so much more about yourself when it's over.
Another thing we got going down is one of our regular viewers ain't tuning in tonight because he's out living it, the high life out in California right now, James Dominguez. And tomorrow night, him and Kelly Pavlik will be on the Joe Rogan Experience. I believe that's 7 o'clock our time. So
we'll have to catch that.
Make sure you tune in. I think
that should be an interesting conversation. Joe, of course, a big MMA guy.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that conversation goes.
I'll tell you what, Kelly. I think Kelly knows as much MMA about he does boxing anymore. I mean, Kelly keeps in line with both of them.
I think he's thought about rolling around with guys in a cage before. There's a good shot that could possibly.
Well, it ain't gonna be a middleweight, I'll tell you that much.
No, it'll be a heavyweight.
But no, I know Kelly's heart's in boxing and stuff, and he's on the side with me. Then I know James feels saying that MMA is never going to overtake boxing as far as the world's most popular sport, only because they just can't get the UK market.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good one because they were bounding and making strides, and all of a sudden it's kind of like falling off.
It's peaked.
And now, what I think that has done too is the MMA world had started giving all of us or everybody the free fights and the network, and had a huge following, which I think in turn helped the people of boxing be like, yo, we got to get out here and do this and get away from this pay-per-view garbage. You know what I mean? All the time, so people can see our fighters. So yeah, boxing's on the rise, and that UFC is on the fall. But what made me so excited right there was, I remembered the fight I want to see this year. When you asked me that earlier today, the fight I want to see is Dana White, Oscar De La Hoya.
Oscar De La Hoya would punk him.
Well, that's the fight I want to see.
Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah, there's a little something going back and forth there.
That's the fight I want to see. Let's get De La Hoya strapped back up, and Dana White.
And Dana's he's not one to keep his mouth shut. So.
No, I think it'd be great.
As long as
he's a great salesman.
As long as no photos are released of Oscar De La Hoya wearing lingerie again, I'm cool.
That ruined a lot.
I don't know if Oscar De La Hoya can pass a drug test. I think he likes that nose candy a little too much.
Oh,
that's I mean. There's times you'll see him at a press conference talking. You're like, something's not clicking right with this guy.
Never is. Tommy Cordell posted down here to us. They're doing a show at the
amphitheater.
The amphitheater.
So
the ANFA.
So they're already on top of that.
Hey, Tommy Cordell is always good for screwing up one word in every text.
What's kind of funny is I mentioned like an outdoor show, and Jim over here is the one who said, "Hey, they're building that Youngstown amphitheater."
ANFA.
Well, I don't know when that's supposed to be done. They are working on it.
Amphitheater. But, no, I mean, it sounds like, hey, they're going to have a show there. So, Tom Cordell.
Yeah, it looks like it's already in motion.
Yeah, and I'm glad the city of Youngstown put that together. A lot of people didn't want that.
There was some talk that the new mayor, Tito Brown, was going to try to niche that when he got into office. And, like, I think I don't know how true that was.
Yeah, I think he wasn't excited about the financial end of it.
But I think when you see what it's done for Whan in the summers and stuff,
sure.
Hey, you know what? I'll tell you what, and I think this is somewhere where the ball got dropped in our area. I would have loved for Calfaro Field to have been built downtown. I don't know where, maybe where the amphitheater is being built or some kind of land down there.
Yeah, it would have been tough.
But I've just seen
He did it again.
He did it again.
What'd I do?
No, look, hey, it's always, every time Tommy Cordell texts me something, there's always one word that's not right. Like, damn, Braun.
I love Tommy.
Well, I'm glad he's on top of that because I think that'll be one of the great events there in Youngstown. That could really do so on a Saturday night. That'll be a great time because you're walking distance to wherever you want to go after the fight.
Maybe we can look into doing something with that, man. We'll figure something out. That'd be great to do something with that. I don't know. Do a show live from there or something beforehand or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see if we can put a little something together.
I've been trying to get Jack to put on a show, and I would like to put on a show up at the what is that? The Holiday Inn. Well, it used to be the Holiday Inn Metroplex, but the Metroplex up there.
Yeah,
it's still there.
Yeah,
I've seen IWA wrestling there with Preston Steele, the Ultimate Male.
Oh yeah,
you know Preston Steele,
or as we call him, LT.
Is he still a law enforcement officer?
No, he was with the Trumbull County Sheriff's Department, has since retired.
Okay.
But a great guy.
I graduated with his son, Pete Lusick.
Yeah, and that's that is senior. Pete Lusick Senior. So.
Yeah, he was always good to me. He signed me an autograph one time and says, "Brian, you're the coolest next to me." From Preston Steele, the Ultimate Male. Good times, but hey, it looks like
is this
red countdown? How much time we got left?
I don't know.
It says like 16 seconds.
Oh yeah, I guess time goes fast when you're having fun.
All right then.
Is that us out? Are we getting kicked off?
Yeah, you better go
you'll hear the music, man. Eventually, it will throw you off.
Oh, the music will kick in first?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how exactly
We don't have to do
works.
anything anymore.
Oh, that's us signing off here.
Yeah, it is
Brian,
what it is.
Vinny, Jim,
Tommy Cordell.
It's gonna be a great 2019. WesternReserveRadio.com for the Gessler Propane Studio. Just a reminder, man, everybody out there fighting some kind of battle. Everybody in life needs a corner man. Vinny even had one.
I got a couple of them.
He had a couple of them. So just be kind to folks you meet. You just don't know what everybody's going through. Everybody's fighting some kind of personal struggles. I've dealt with anxiety in my life. I guess you wouldn't notice that with me, how I act here or whatever, but
well, maybe you should get in the ring.
Just be kind to everybody. For Vinny, for Jim, we will be back at you in 2 weeks, back in our regular Wednesday night slot at 8 p.m. See everybody then. In Youngstown, keep fighting.